now you can hear me because my microphone was muted. Oh. I'm having a shocker. By and by, just so you know. You think I would be new to this? Well, I kind of am. I can't. Hello. Oh, mate. I shouldn't be having a shocker. I don't know why I am. I should start again. But fuck it. We're live. We're here. My name's Amanda. Clearly, I'm not a professional. And this is the Tequila Hour. And thank you to anyone who's watching and they're not. So I'm not sure why I'm thanking anybody. Maybe I should just thank myself. But if you happen to watch this via the rerun, then hello. And if you're one of my loyal followers who listen to my podcast via your favorite streaming platforms, may that be Spotify, hey, or what else? Audible or Google or Apple. Hello, and thank you for listening. But, well, not even a but. There's no but. Let's get straight into it. Let's just say, first of all, I want to take a moment because today is the 25th of April in Australia and it is Anzac Day. So I just want to acknowledge that it's Anzac Day today and thank you to all who have served in past wars, be that Australian and New Zealanders as well. And thank you for your service. And yeah, I won't go into Anzac Day because I'll start to cry. But thank you. And I just want to acknowledge that because it's important. So let's move on. Today, you might have seen the title of this podcast. It is about narcissism. And why am I struggling to even say it's such a big word? No. Look, I wanted to talk about this subject because there's two reasons why. The main reason is that I was going to say me only. No, it's not just me. But there has been a situation where I've had to deal with someone who clearly identifies as a narcissist. No, they don't. But unfortunately, clearly their behavior is narcissistic. And it is something that I've actually had to put off talking about this podcast because they pissed me off that much. So, yeah. And it's only today where it is a subject that I wanted to discuss on a personal level and talk about it, but it's also something that, let's be honest, again, in general conversations, you're not saying, oh, look at Mary Jo, she's a narcissist. Do you even know what a narcissist is? Or do you know what the meaning of narcissism is? So I suppose I wanted to talk about that because, you could easily get lost in your own, I don't know, interpretation, definition of what you think a narcissist is. And I suppose I want to go over that first. And then obviously I'm not going to name and shame people because that would make me an arsehole. And I'm not. But I wanted to talk about first what the meaning of narcissist is. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, by the way, a narcissist is a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. Narcissists who think the world revolves around them. Now, straight away, you'd be like, Amanda, are you a narcissist? we could dig into this today. I don't think I am, but yeah, let's talk about it because when you read that definition of what a narcissist or narcissistic behavior is, you'd kind of be like, is that anybody who is in the social media space? Let's get on it. Let's get real. Because pretty much they have to have an excessive interest in themselves to promote themselves. But does that make them narcissistic? Because, they're promoting themselves and they're happy to do that, or they're selling a brand, their brand is themselves. They're selling a product. They love themselves and they just want to share that with the world. Does that make them a narcissist? Does it? Because, if you read into that description, again, a person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves, apparently the world, pretty much, we're all narcissists. So we're fucked. But no, we're not. Let's talk about a little bit more because I want to go a little bit deeper into this because I don't know, it's just something that, like I said, there was a particular situation and person I've been dealing with in the past, and this person still exists. And like I said, I really had to take some time to not I wanted to talk about this particular subject today, and I really had to take time to be in a comfortable headspace, believe it or not, to even talk about it. Which perhaps that makes me not a narcissistic person. Yeah. Anyway, what is the meaning of a narcissist person? Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. I mean, don't we want people to admire us? But anyway, if it's unreasonably high, apparently then you're a narcissist. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. Okay, so this is the crux of it, right? My understanding. You can, have a high sense, or you might even have an unreasonably high sense of self-admiration. Let's talk about, people who are in social media as an example. We could talk about myself. That do I have an fairly unreasonable admiration for myself to then come onto this platform via YouTube or via my own podcast stream about topics that I want to talk about, because I pretty much think I'm really important. No. I don't do it because I feel I'm the shit and, everyone needs to listen to me. I am doing this podcast because, like I've mentioned in the past, one of the most important subjects for me that I want to talk about is mental health. Now, one, I love YouTube. Two, I love podcasting. And for me, it's a self-life passion, which I have now come to not fall into, but created basically, because it's given me an opportunity to talk about the things that I want to talk about and share with others. It's not because I think I'm the shit and want everyone to love me and worship me like their leader. Maybe. No. No, it's none of that. It's the opportunity for me to talk about a subject that's very dear to me, mental health, and by the way, also gives me the opportunity to talk about frivolous things that I love or subjects that intrigue me, like this subject, or even just to check in and talk about my week. Now, I wouldn't say that's narcissistic. I would say that's just me following my dreams and going for it. But then if you were to simply read something like this and then, you know, think of Instagram as an example, you could quite easily then start thinking that your everyday celebrity are narcissistic because clearly, if you were just to only view them for their social media behaviors, then you would think that they do have an unreasonably high sense of admiration of themselves. Otherwise, why would they be promoting everything in, particular spaces of their life for the whole world to know about if they didn't have a higher sense of admiration or importance to themselves and the need to share that with others? Now, that's very broad. Let's break it down. This is very broad, isn't it, when you start thinking about it? So let's be honest. You'd have to say that anyone who has any sense of, well, you'd like to think that you have admiration for yourself. I mean, that should be a given, but anyone who is comfortable with who they are as a person, who then is comfortable with sharing their lives on social media or podcasts like this, etc., they have to have some sort of, see, that's the thing. This is the crux. It's not just about having a sense of admiration, but then it's about not having the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. Now, I care about the feelings of others probably too much, um, which is quite a conundrum when you think that I am then going on YouTube and recording this live and doing podcasts and talking about my thoughts and feelings and sometimes quite personal mental health struggles that I've dealt with and will continue to talk about throughout my podcast for the rest of time. And, you know, I do care. And like I said, I probably overcare. Now, there are people, though, which if you just close your eyes, or maybe you don't even have to do that, just think about it. There would have to be, unless you're living on a farm and you don't interact with anyone at all, you are likely to know of someone who displays narcissistic behavior. You could very well likely be in a relationship with a narcissist. You could have your mum who's a narcissist. That's very dramatic, but look, not only could you perhaps know someone who has these tendencies, but you might actually know someone really well who is a narcissist. Now, that's one thing to live with someone or know someone who is a narcissist, or, may that be at your home or your parents or your friend or a work colleague. But then it's another thing to deal with that and be comfortable with that. Now, okay, what am I trying to get at? I'm being very diplomatic because what I'm saying to you is, yes, there is a particular person that I'm aware of that clearly falls into this category. Uh, it is not my husband, by the way. Just so you know, because people like to jump to conclusions. No, it's not my husband. No, it's not my parents or my adoptive parents or my mother-in-law. Okay. That leaves people I work with and people who are my friends figure it out. Okay. So, like I said, I'm not here to name and shame people who I know and, label them narcissists and get myself into shit. What I'm trying to get at is I really want to talk about this because how do you deal what am I trying to get at? I suppose for me, I want to talk about this just because how do you once you've identified this behavior or behaviors in someone, if you are someone who then has to deal with this particular person on a regular basis, then how the fuck do you deal with it? Okay? So the thing is that, ignorance is bliss, isn't it? I was going to say if you're stupid, if you're a dum dum, no. If you are not emotionally intelligent or aware, you may be living or have a friend or a colleague who is a narcissist right now. And you really haven't identified their narcissistic behaviors. You just think perhaps they're having a bad day or, they have a tendency to get angry at the drop of the hat or, etc. Or you could be more enlightened like myself and someone who gives a shit about other people and myself and my thoughts and feelings and having to then not only acknowledge, but then work out your own comfortability with then having to deal with someone who clearly is a narcissist. Let's get into it further, okay? Because, look, let's remember it's not only about self admiration, as in the definition of narcissist, but it's also then that person has absolutely no idea or doesn't give a shit about anyone but themselves or has a complete lack of empathy. Now, obviously, there's levels, okay? Not everyone is, like I said, emotionally attuned to giving a shit about not only themselves, even, but then giving a shit about people who are around them. So that's the first thing. But then, like I said, like myself, you could even say that I'm on the other spectrum where I probably do care too much about other people. That is something I clearly am working on. And I actually have been working on for personally, just by and by, something that I'm repeating myself now. Yeah, I have clearly been working on me, as in my own personal traits and dealing with others and situations and how I react is probably, or how I don't react, probably for a good, really, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, maybe 10 months. And look, this stemmed from, I won't go into the situation, but basically it stemmed from things that I identified. And then obviously, you have your periods in life where you might have these thoughts and feelings about this kind of shit. But then when you have to then live with this on a constant basis, something has to change. And the only person who can change is you. So, yes, I've been a work in progress, really working on myself and how I deal with other people's bullshit and how I don't just allow myself to get wrapped up in that, and also how to deflect that and how to move forward and how to look after myself and all of the above at the same time. Probably one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast as well, because it helps me, like today, nut this shit out live. But it gives me a time to reminisce, not reminisce, that's the wrong word. Um, it gives me the time to reflect, even maybe have nut something out and then identify it for what it truly is. Because again, it's one of those things where, we're not sitting around the dinner table, as an example, and, calling out Billy Bo, Billy Bob Thornton for being a narcissist. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, these are not general conversations, and I like having deep and meaningful conversations. So, let's talk about narcissistic personality disorder more in depth, shall we? I'm reading this from the Mayo Clinic, which you might recognize the name, which is in America, by the way. If you don't know, who are you? Symptoms and causes, an overview. Narcissistic personality disorder is a mental health condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their importance, like we talked about. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. Let's go back to that in a second. People with this disorder may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism. Okay. So in simple terms, for all their bravado, they're not even sure of themselves. Therefore, they easily get upset and mask their own, I'm just going to say incompetence. They mask their own lack of self confidence by projecting onto other people. Okay, that's how I interpret that. I could be wrong. A narcissistic personality disorder causes problems in many areas of life, such as relationships, work, school, or financial matters. People with narcissistic personality disorder may be generally unhappy and disappointed when they're not given the special favors or admirations that they believe they deserve. They may find that their relationships are troubled and unfulfilling, and other people may not enjoy being around them. So, okay. So basically, apart from having a complete unreasonable sense of admiration for themselves, they then believe everyone should admire them. And then if they don't, they're pissed off at everybody, including themselves. Okay. Treatment for narcissistic personality disorder centers around talk therapy, also called psychotherapy. Narcissistic personality disorder affects more males than females. Interesting. And it often begins in teens or early adulthood. Some children may show traits of narcissism, but this is often typically for their age and doesn't mean they'll go to develop narcissistic personality disorder. Okay, yeah, let's not just, poo-poo all children who have a high sense of admiration for themselves. Oh my God. I mean, I don't look, I'm not a psychotherapist or a psychologist or psychiatrist, but I don't even know how you'd identify narcissistic personality disorder in a child. So I won't even go there. Symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder and how severe they are can vary. People with this disorder can, and here's some points basically, have an unreasonably high sense of self importance and require constant, excessive admiration. Okay. I'm thinking of the particular person that I've decided is a narcissist. Do they have a constant need for excessive admiration? I don't know because I don't know them that well in their everyday life. So I don't know the answer to that question. Okay. Feel that they deserve privilege and special treatment. Yes. Yes. I think they think that. Expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements. That's an interesting one. Expect to be recognized as superior even without achievement or achievements. Make achievements and talents seem bigger than they are. Doesn't everybody do this? Make achievements seem bigger than they actually are, or they feel they need to have some sense of bloody self-worth. Interesting. Be preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. This is, I think I'm turning into a narcissist. No, I'm not preoccupied with fantasies about it. Look, apparently I am. I don't think it's a psychological condition to want to have more, to have more money or power or brilliance or intelligence or be more beautiful or find your perfect husband if you haven't found one already. I think these are normal human traits, but obviously, if you're a narcissistic person or you've identified with narcissistic personality disorder, then these are extreme, all right. So let's calm down. Believe they are superior to others and can only spend time with or be understood by equally special people. Wow. I think I am a narcissist. No. um, believe they are superior to others. Okay, that's interesting. Be critical of or look down on people they feel are not important. Now, this is the crux of it, all right? So, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with having your own, I don't know, if you want to call them fantasies or dreams or etc. about wanting more. But then to then go, I want more, but then everyone else is stupid and I'm the only person in the whole entire world who should have A, B, and C, and the rest of you can all get fucked because I'm superior and you're not. That's when there's a problem. um, be critical of or look down on people they feel are not important. Expect special favors and expect other people to do what they want without questioning them. Yep. Yeah. Really? No, that's not happening. Take advantage of others to get what they want. So it's not only just your own sense of like, I'm the shit, but then using people just to get or have a sense of what you want to get. Have an ability or inability, sorry, or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. This is the big one. So, like I said, going to the example of a particular person I have in mind, that's the crux of it. Have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. That's huge. Like I said, I'll just use myself as an example. I I know I can come across distant, um, delusional, no, elusive, um, introspective, not caring sometimes. But let's flip that. I also know that I am over caring, overthinking of other people sometimes, from, you know, overthinking before myself, basically, to then, um, what am I trying to get at? To, I don't know, it's not even like to, make myself better. It's kinda like the whole coldness thing. I know it's just for me, it's a protective mechanism. It's either I just need to think about what I need to think about and just leave me alone because I'm struggling with my own thoughts, or it is where I know I'm overthinking and I need some space because, like I said, I'm now, as I've gotten older and, you know, done a lot of psychotherapy, that yes, I know when I need to step back. But I also am very acutely aware sometimes that I can quite easily let myself just care about other people's thoughts and feelings before my own. And I think that is, well, we're talking about empathy. And I think that's a wonderful trait to have if you're truly empathetic. Um, I think not everyone probably has the same level of empathy as I do, which I struggle with because, yeah, I can't understand sometimes how people do what they do and not be empathetic. But in saying that, I have also identified that you can't just, there is a level of empathism that, is that a word? I think I just made it up. That is is productive, and if you go too far, it can be counterproductive. But when we're talking about this, we're basically saying that there is no sense of empathy at all, at all. If I'm incorrect, then write a comment. um, there is no real sense of empathy for others or caring about others. It's all about yourself to the extreme because you lack that ability to do so. Now, I suppose then that leads into, do you always, like, because it identified that it's more male orientated disorder, and it can often start in your teens. We read that. But is it something that happens because something happened in your life and then you become a narcissist, like, or have this disorder? Or is it because you always had this underlying disorder, say, as an example, and then, you know, through the stresses of life, it's just become exacerbated. And then, you know, you're at 40 something years of age and you're an asshole to everybody. I don't know. It's very interesting. I don't know. Is it because what I'm trying to say is, again, let's use me as an example. There's things that have happened. Obviously, like I've mentioned, I had a very traumatic childhood, and it basically created a seed of, I don't know what you want to call it, but it certainly was a catalyst for many emotional, mental health struggles that I've had throughout my life. And you could say it was in my DNA if you want to go that far. But for me, I know that it's basically due to the fact that I've had very many traumatic experiences that have now affected the way that my brain handles certain things. Therefore, that comes out as an anxiety or depressive episode or episodes. That's very simplistic. But what I'm saying is, do people who have this disorder, is that the same? Like, I mean, is this because they've had a traumatic childhood, as an example, and then, or they've had a traumatic periods in their life, and therefore their only way of coping with these traumatic instances is then, they fall into this pattern of narcissistic behaviors. And then, one day they've identified with this disorder. I don't know. But are they always assholes? It's very interesting. Let's continue. Shall we? um, where were we? So they expected special favors, take advantage of others to get what they want, aka be an asshole. Have an inability, oh yeah, we said that. Be envious of others and believe that others envy them. Okay. So that's a type that's that's a good one. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about envy. Okay, because that's a really interesting thing. I'm just gonna look that up. The meaning of envy. That's a very interesting for me. Something that I'm always like I don't know. It's just what am I trying to get? I'm trying to look it up. Envy. The meaning of envy, by the way. Um, which I do know what it means, but I just want to get a like dictionary explanation just so I could be antsy smancy. Envy. Can't even spell apparently. Because I'm not envious. No. ENVY. God, fuck her out. Meaning. Envy. According to the Oxford Language Dictionaries, what I was trying to get at, by the way, a feeling of discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. She felt a twinge of envy for the people on board. Desire to have a quality, possession, or other desirable thing belonging to someone else. He envied people who did not work at the weekends. Begrudging, grudge, yeah. um, yes. Look, we've all know what that feeling is. Let's cut the shit. We all know what it feels like to have envy or feel envious of others because we feel like we should have those things, or like I said, possessions, or we should have things a certain way, or we are jealous of people, which falls under envious. But what a contradiction when you talk about being envious of others and believe others envy them. So not only, I know, thinking of this particular person, not only are they envious of you, but they also believe that people envy them. What? Now that's a total mind fuck if I ever heard one. Okay. They are envious of other people, but believe that people also envy them. Really? That's, yeah, you're delusional. Okay. Behave in an arrogant way, brag a lot, and come across as conceited. Mm. Insist on having the best of everything, for instance, the best car or office. At the same time, people with narcissistic personality disorder have trouble handling anything they view as criticism. Okay. So basically, they want everything that everyone else has got, feel that everyone should love them and give them everything, but at the same time, they hate themselves. But does that give them the excuse to be an arsehole? Do you know what I mean? Or like we are we just saying that, look, if you have these behaviors, then you have an actual disorder. Therefore, it's not your fault. Is that what we're saying? Like, I don't know. That's disturbing. And that's what we're talking about, empathy. At the same time, yeah, okay, we talked about they have yes, I'll repeat that. At the same time, people with narcissistic personality disorder have trouble handling anything they view as criticism. They can become impatient or angry when they don't receive special recognition or treatment. Because they're jelly, okay? They can't handle it. Have major problems interacting with others and easily feel slighted. Okay, so they're angry and pissed off at the world and themselves. Therefore, they're uncomfortable being in the world with themselves and everybody. So they're screwed. react with rage or contempt or try to belittle other people to make themselves appear superior. So not only do they expect absolute admiration, but then if they don't have that, they react with anger. And this is not rage is not anger. Rage is rage. All right? They're two, in my opinion, I could be wrong. There is a clear, distinct difference between someone who's angry, which like I don't think I've talked about me in anger. I am very uncomfortable with anger, um, or getting angry or rage. I think there has been, and I can clearly think of times when I've probably, you would probably call it rage, maybe once or twice in my entire life. I'm 50. Okay, let's put it in perspective. There is a clear, distinct difference, in my opinion, between anger and rage. And they're saying rage. So that's extreme anger, in my opinion. Or try to belittle other people to make themselves appear. Well, that's what arseholes do, basically. I'm sorry. If you have this disorder, look, we're not saying anyone who has this disorder are an arsehole, maybe, but you know, if you have narcissistic behaviors and you don't like, we're not even saying that, particular people that I'm using an example have this disorder. What I'm saying is there's people we all know in our lives that have tendencies, okay? And these are good examples, and these are things that you should look out for. And maybe then you think to yourself, well, no, this person's not just being, having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month or a bad year. This person has clear narcissistic tendencies or behaviors that they need to get their shit sorted out, all right? Moving on. Have difficulty managing their emotions and behaviors. Who clearly understanding when you think that if they react in rage, not just anger, but with rage, you could clearly understand that they would have difficulty managing their emotions because, like we've talked about in these examples, not only they, expect everything on a silver platter, but then they're angry with everyone, but then they're angry with themselves. So they're basically, yeah. I was going to give an example, but I won't say that. Speaking of, that was, yeah, I won't use that visual example, but because, I don't, I don't need this video taken off YouTube. Anyway, that's another story. Let's move on. Experience major problems dealing with stress and adapting to change. Again, this seems all logical when you can think about the mixed emotions and contradiction in behaviors that these people experience. Withdraw from or avoid situations in which they may fail. Well, yeah, you could understand that one because, like I said, they expect everything. So they're not going to put themselves in a situation where they feel like they're not going to get the admiration that they think they deserve. So, you know, they're not, they're not putting themselves on a limb, are they? They feel depressed and moody because they fall short of perfection. Have secret feelings of secret feelings of insecurity, shame, humiliation, and fear of being exposed as a failure. Mate, haven't we all in our lives had a moment where we felt like we're going to be exposed for failing? Like, I don't know, may that be at work or in your marriage or in your closer relationships where you're just like, yeah, I'm having a moment, I'm shit scared because I feel like or I am failing and therefore, it's all turning to oh, we've all been there. When to see a doctor? This is interesting. People with narcissistic personality disorder may not want to think think that anything could be wrong. So they usually don't seek treatment. If they do seek treatment, it's more likely to be symptoms of depression, drug or alcohol misuse, or another mental health problem. What they view as insults to self esteem may be difficult to accept and follow through with treatment. If you recognize aspects of your personality that are common to narcissistic personality disorder, or you're feeling overwhelmed by sadness, consider reaching out to a trusted healthcare provider or mental health provider. Okay, we're not doing that. Wow. Some features of narcissistic personality disorder are like those of other personality disorders. Also, it's possible to be diagnosed with more than one personality disorder at a time. Yeah. Because it's not clear cut. It's not clear cut as you would imagine. This can make stop it. This can make diagnosis more challenging, of course. Diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder usually is based on your symptoms and how they impact your life. So guess what? It's not about impacting anybody else's life. It's all about you. No. Obviously, if enough people say you're an arsehole, perhaps you might want to get that checked out. A physical exam to make sure you don't have physical problem causing your symptoms. Okay, that's interesting because there could be things that are happening. I'm thinking a brain tumor. That sounds very dramatic, and I don't know. I'm not a doctor, by the way. But yes, there could be some sort of medical condition that's been undiagnosed that could be creating this personality change and therefore creating this disorder, which you have no idea about. A thorough psychological evaluation that may include filling out questionnaires. No shit. Guidelines in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. That's what I was looking up before. Published by the American Psychiatric Association. So the treatment for narcissistic personality disorder, by the way, is talk therapy, which we talked about, which is psychotherapy. Medicines may be included in your treatment if you have other mental health conditions, which they talked about, which is depression. Narcissistic personality disorder's treatment is centered around psychotherapy. It can help you to learn to relate better with others so that your relationships are closer and more enjoyable and more rewarding, and understand the causes of your emotions and what drives you to compete, to distrust others, and to dislike others and possibly yourself. That's interesting. Okay. Understand the causes of your emotions and what drives you to compete. That's a good one. Because I was going to say I'm an overachiever. Look, I think that's a good trait to have. It can get you into a lot of trouble, unfortunately, if you drive yourself too far to overachieve. We've talked about that in previous podcasts. I think it's good to have drive, but it's certainly good to know when that drive is too much. To distrust others, that could come down to many things. So that's an interesting one. And just to dislike others and possibly yourself. Well, I'd have to say, if you have that much rage and anger within yourself, then it's very likely that you don't like yourself at all. Again, though, does that give carte blanche, is that the word or terminology, to just be mean to people? I'm asking the question, does it? I mean, I don't think so. And that's the problem, isn't it? Because, you know, when we're talking about, okay, let's break it down. Let's say, I don't know, Cindy. No, not Cindy, because I know it's Cindy. That's not this. That's not who I'm talking about. Let's say, I don't know, Samantha is I don't know, having a bad week, okay? And or a bad month and or months, and her behavior has disintegrated into narcissistic behaviors, okay? Does that then and then okay, let's then say she goes to a psychologist and they say, "Look, you clearly are exhibiting multiple narcissistic type behaviors. Therefore, I think you might have this disorder at this present time, and we need to do psychotherapy." But, you know, in the meantime, Samantha has swaved through a series of relationships in her life, being the narcissistic a hole. But then, does that then give permission if you then seek treatment for this disorder? Does that just then just wipe clear all your behaviors that you've done up to that point? Do you know what I mean? Um, or let's just say you don't even get identified with the disorder, okay? But you're clearly presenting with not just normal issues of anger and frustration. I'm saying you're being narcissistic, okay? To multiple people, clear examples of your own behavior onto others and onto yourself. Where do we then go, well, you know, this person clearly has this is good. I'm getting it, I'm nutting it out in my brain. Where do then we go, okay, so clearly this person has an issue, a mental issue or issues, all right? No, we don't like what their behavior is to themselves, or more importantly to you. But then saying, well, okay, not that you're excusing their behavior, but then going, right, well, how I can react to this is stepping back and going, this person clearly has issues. I was going to say, then we should offer help to them. And I'm like, should we? Do you know what I mean? Like, when someone's being mean and displaying narcissistic behaviors towards people that you know, should we have the empathy as human beings to give that person a break and to then say, look, it's just they're having these, they actually have a mental health issue, and do we forgive them? Or do we not only acknowledge what's going on, but then support them? Do you know what I mean? It's so hard because let's say this person has been a right a-hole to you and multiple people for like, I don't know, a shit ton of time, all right? And now we're at a place where we're like, clearly this person has problems, all right? Clearly this person has problems. And clearly they need help, but they don't see that, all right? Where do you, as a person, as an observer or someone who interacts with that person, where does that leave you? I mean, do you then turn to yourself and go, well, I'm tapping out and I'm not interacting at all? Or do you go the other route and go, well, this person clearly needs help because they're suffering and this is their coping mechanism and they actually need my help and I should be empathetic and care? And that's the thing, it's so hard to care about someone when you feel like you've been hurt by them, isn't it? And I'm not talking physical. I'm not talking physically being hurt by a person, but I'm talking about being mentally hurt by someone Where is that? What is it that you can just not well, is it about forgiveness or just forgiving? Like, but then obviously you have to acknowledge, because you would just do yourself in if you didn't acknowledge that, they were mean to you. But then turning it around on its head and going, okay, well, this person clearly has problems and they need help. But that's the thing, it's not your job to help them. Okay. This is what it's about. It's not your role in that person's life. It's really that person who has to do it. So I suppose that means that, yes, we can be empathetic, and we need to be more empathetic than we want to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe we need to really be the better person and just go, yeah, that person is suffering. Oh, that's hard. Because that's what I'm saying. Narcissistic behavior is a hard one, because we all know people who are a-holes, all right? We all know people who are mean and horrible people, all right? Constantly. And this is the thing. These people, and this is where it goes beyond, because, like, okay, people who are mean, right? Who are really mean. I mean, really mean, spirited, horrible human beings. That's one type of person. That could be you, extreme narcissist. We also know people who are having a tough time of it, all right? And are mean. But we also know people who 1 week they could be fine, and the next week they could be mean. And this is where it gets complicated, because then you don't know, when you're dealing with that person, subject C, where that line is about saying, well, they're having a bad time, or stuff's happening and we should give them a break, or no, they truly are horrible people and we should just wipe them. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, mate, it's so complicated, eh? And what makes it complicated is, let's say, I don't know, you're at the shops and you're dealing, I don't know, you're in the aisle and you go to grab a bag of chips and someone else grabs it and then say something mean. I don't know. They display narcissistic behavior, whatever. You don't really know that person, all right? But you say they display, or you might see them on I don't know. What's a good example? Okay. A good example is a situation in life where you meet certain people, but you're not always interacting with them. So a gym is the first thing that comes to mind. So say you go to the gym regularly, you interact with a particular person who displays narcissistic behavior, but you don't really know them, but they display these behaviors, all right? But you can remove yourself, because literally you who could go to a different gym. Even though you don't want to, but I mean, that would be what you do if you really couldn't cope with it. The problem is when the person who displays or has narcissistic behavior, had personality disorder, because let's be honest, there's probably a lot of people who have this disorder that are underdiagnosed, but let's say you just have tendencies, okay? Or, people have tendencies. The problem is when these people are in your life every day, or a majority of your day. So I'm talking about your husband. I'm talking, or your wife, or your mother. I mean, imagine that. It's horrible. Was my mother a narcissist? No, she wasn't. She just something else. She was. Oh my gosh. No, she wasn't a narcissist, but she was something else. I don't know. She wasn't a narcissist. I'm glad I sorted that out. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but what I'm saying to you, this is where it gets difficult. When you're dealing with someone who has these tendencies and influence they are an influence in your life when you're having to deal with them on a daily basis or a majority of your time in your everyday week, as an example. Now, obviously, it'd be a lot worse if it was your partner. Okay. If it was your husband or wife, then you're rooted. Do you know what I mean? Like, even working that out would be horrible. That would be horrible. Okay. Like, everyone has their moments, all right, but, like, just imagine that your partner was had this disorder. I don't even wanna think about it, it's horrible. But let's just say well, hopefully you're smart enough to have identified that before they became your partner. God, I hope so. Um, but there is always gonna be a situation where, unfortunately or fortunately, however you wanna look at it, that you do come across someone who has these tendencies who are in your life more than just the occasional person you see at the gym, as an example. The problem is, how do you deal with that? Now, my synopsis out of reading this, and like I said, look, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I don't pretend to be, I don't, well, I was gonna be a psychologist, thank God I didn't because that's no. No. No, that would have been horrible. But, yes, that would not have been a very good idea. Even though I'm smart enough, it would not have been a very good idea. Um, that how do we deal with this? Okay. And the reason why and again, this is the reason why I'm talking about this today, because, like I said, I wanted to do this particular podcast because there is someone in my life that I am dealing with or have to deal with. I'm not saying they have narcissistic personality disorder, but they do have clear narcissistic tendencies. How do I manage that reasonably, professionally, with integrity, with compassion, with empathy? This is the thing. Because as a self mechanism of preservation, okay, as a mechanism of preservation, if someone is being mean to you consistently, or you see someone being mean to others consistently for no real reason but for being mean, but that's who they are, where do we then have or show compassion and empathy for that person without compromising our own integrity or morals? Because that's the conundrum I had a couple of weeks ago, and, like, I couldn't talk about it because and I can talk about it now because and okay, well, what is it then that I worked out? Because, like I said, literally a month ago, I could not have talked about this subject to you on a podcast. I was that hurt. Yeah, I was hurt and angry and confused and what's that? The weirdest word just came to my mind. I can't think of the word. That's a great word too, damn it. No, I can't. Can't. Anyway, it's using fancy words. Oh, sorry, hit the microphone. Using fancy words for no reason. That's what I do. um, no. Yes. What is it? Because a month ago, I could not have talked to you about this. It affected me that much. A month on, what has changed? Me. In me. Because I've really disengaged. That's what it is. I really allowed myself to disengage. That's what, yeah. It's kind of like It's not even showing, it's not even yeah, that's not, it's not even that. Because I was gonna say, I put myself in a place of empathy and compassion, and I didn't. I actually went the other route. I just disengaged completely. And I'm sitting here and I'm actually comfortable with that. And I'm actually okay with that. I think I'm okay with that. Yeah. And I don't, like there's this little tiny voice in my mind that's going, like I can hear it in my mind. I'm not hearing voices. No. um, there's that tiny little voice that you have in your back in your head when you're a person who, like myself, like I said, I've had, shall we say, challenges around giving too much of a shit about what other people thought. That's what it is. I've just allowed myself to not give a fuck. That's what it is. And that I've actually then gone, "Oh, I'm okay with that. Who am I?" I'm scared. I'm scared. Oh, that's what it is. Now, then you'd be like, Amanda, well, is that okay? Because, you know, like I said, there's that little voice in your mind that goes, we should all have compassion for our fellow human being, and we should all care, or I don't know, allow ourselves to care about others. And obviously, we need to look after ourselves, but we should give a shit about other people. And we're saying that these people who have these disorders or have these tendencies, they are hurting. But what I'm saying to you, and I've decided, and clearly, for me, just talking about it, I decided that I'm cutting them. That's it. I'm out. I'm cutting you. And it's all on you. That's it. And it's okay. And that's the thing. I'm actually okay with it. I think I'm okay. Am I? I think I'm okay with it, actually. Yeah. And that's what happened in this last month, because I could not think about it. And now, because I'm more comfortable with my decision and how I've come to that decision, that's it. And that's just from, I don't know, like I said, I really have taken time to really, like, be retrospective about my feelings and thoughts about different things, emotional things, and relationships and work and life. And yeah, and this podcast is part of that for me. And yeah, deep man. What advice can I give you? Because, like I said, I've just cut this person, cut them. What advice can I give to you? Um, if you are someone who is dealing with someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, you think they might have disorder, then good luck. No, no, no. Look, clearly, if it's that bad, then yes, they need medical help. And if you are in a situation, if that's your partner or someone that you love and they are displaying this disorder, then yes, you should probably suggest seeking help for that person, and suggest seeking help for yourself, or both. If you're dealing with someone who is displaying narcissistic tendencies, which we all know people who do that, but if you know of someone who clearly is displaying these tendencies, then you then have to personally decide if you are going to let yourself go there and be empathetic and have compassion, which you can have compassion for someone. This is the other thing. You can have compassion because you're a compassionate person, but you can also say that for being compassionate, I'm going to have compassion for myself first, and I'm going to look after myself first. And if that person cannot see that they have these tendencies, that is on them. And then you have to be comfortable with that. Now, that's not easy. It's not. Like, so what I struggled with for like a good couple of months. It's not. It's not easy, but you can do that. And I think the only way you can do that is what I did, and really go there, let yourself sit in the feeling, work out what that feeling is, because that's the hardest thing, I suppose. And then making up what your decision will be, which is best for you, and being comfortable with that. Yep. Yeah. And that's it. And I've saved the world. No, I haven't. No, I haven't saved the world. But what I have done is I've had a discussion about something I wanted to discuss, and I'm actually happy with how this podcast ended. So, if you have enjoyed this podcast and you would like to listen to more of my podcasts, then you can watch the rerun of this live via YouTube anytime via my channel, which is the Tequila Hour. You can also listen to this, just the audio version, via your favorite streaming platforms such as Spotify, which is my favorite streaming platform, by the way. Ow. Or you can listen to Audible, or you can Google Podcast or Apple, or there's other places, but just do it. Listen. Listen to the sounds of my sweet voice and get lost in the perplexities of my mind. But anyway, to those who do take the time to listen, I truly do appreciate it. And I thank you for actually downloading and taking the time to listen. If you would like to contact me, moi, you can anytime via my email address, which is, I'll spit it out, info@thetequilahour.com.au. Like I said, I have the Tequila Hour, which is my channel on YouTube, the_1_Amanda on YouTube. And also I am pretty regular on Instagram, which is the_1_Amanda. You can contact me that way as well. But anyway, thank you for your time today. Thank you for listening. Rocky start, awesome end. What more can I say? Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you on the next one. Okay? See ya. Bye.